Have you ever dreamed about taking Nathan Drake's treasure hunting on the go? In 2011, that dream became a reality with Uncharted Golden Abyss. But is it an experience true to the series' legacy or just a handheld gimmick? I'll talk about the challenges of adapting Uncharted's epic skill to the PlayStation Vita, the surprising historical roots of the story, and how the developers use the console's unique features. Is it a hidden gem worth playing today, or should it remain buried in the sands of time? Let's rewind a bit. The year is 2011. The PlayStation Vita, Sony's ambitious handheld successor to the PlayStation Portable, is about to launch. Packing a sleek design, innovative features like a touchscreen and rear touchpad, and the promise of console quality experiences on the go. Back then, the excitement surrounding this handheld was wild. And what better franchise to showcase that power than one of the best cinematic action-adventure games, Uncharted. While every previous game was developed by Naughty Dog, the Golden Abyss is actually made by Bend Studio, known for the Syphon Filter series. Naughty Dog did lend their expertise in the form of motion capture and voiceover studios, ensuring that signature Uncharted charm wouldn't be lost in translation. They also offered guidance on how the game would fit into the larger franchise timeline and what the core gameplay focus should be. For Bend Studio, it wasn't just about delivering a handheld Uncharted experience. They could finally showcase their talents on a new franchise. For years, they had carved their niche with the popular Syphon Filter series, a franchise known for its blend of espionage and action. They did get a break with Resistance Retribution, but Uncharted is one of the most recognizable franchises of Sony, so the bar was high. One of the biggest challenges Bend Studio faced was capturing the essence of Uncharted's action sequences and intricate puzzles on a smaller screen with different control options. The PlayStation Vita's hardware, while impressive for its time, was a significant step down from the power of the PlayStation 3. In the end, they did a phenomenal job, and it became one of the best-selling titles for the Vita, with 1.62 million units sold. Golden Abyss takes place a few years before the first game, Drake's Fortune. Nathan Drake is to investigate a dig site in central Panama, alongside a former friend, Jason Dante. At the dig site they encounter Marissa Chase, and discover a clue hinting at the existence of a lost city, Quivira. Dante, motivated by greed, sets his sights on the riches for himself, while a brutal warlord named Roberto Guerrero sees the potential to fund his violent operations with the riches of the lost city. Drake joins forces with Marissa, who is determined to honor her late grandfather's research. While they delve deeper into their journey, they figure out a dark secret about a Spanish expedition that met a horrible fate centuries ago. The different type of characters add some interesting dynamics to the story. First up is Marissa Chase, granddaughter of archaeologist Vincent Perez, who had been searching the globe for the lost city of Quivira for 20 years. Unfortunately, he was diagnosed with cancer and mysteriously vanished without a trace. Ever since he disappeared, Chase has been trying to finish her grandfather's research by using his research in hopes of rewriting history. Fun fact, Chase is probably a huge counterpart of Elena Fisher, as she possesses her same knowledge and her quick humor, but not her strength though. Then there's Jason Dante, an Italian-American treasure hunter and archaeologist, and an old friend and associate of Drake. His true motivations aren't shared, but he is extremely self-centered and greedy. Dante's method of hunting treasures is quite the opposite of Nathan Drake, since he just hires a team of mercenaries to do the dirty work for him. The main antagonist is Roberto Guerrero. A decade before Golden Abyss, he was the military dictator of Panama, before being overthrown by a coup d'etat. He escaped execution by the new regime, and accompanied by loyalists, formed a revolutionary army to fight government forces and eventually regain power. He needed more money, so when he was approached by Vincent and his partner Jason, who wanted to investigate ruins that potentially lead to Quivira, he agreed. However, he was planning to kill both when he had the gold. The game takes place in varied locations: lush rainforests, crumbling Mayan temples, and abandoned Central American slums. Bend Studio based these on real-world historical locations. At the heart of the story lies the fabled city of Quivira, which is not something made up by Bend Studio. It's a real place whispered about for centuries by Spanish conquistadors. According to legend, Quivira was a golden city overflowing with treasure. Various theories placing it anywhere from the American Southwest to Central America. Explorers embarked on countless expeditions to find it, but Quivira remains a mystery. The studio created their own version of Quivira, with a mix of these myths and other creative inputs, to still fit in the Uncharted adventures. In the game, the city has impressive architecture, and the puzzles and challenges often reference Mayan technology and lore, which would have been similar to the inhabitants of the real Quivira. This makes the game feel grounded and believable. While Uncharted Golden Abyss might be a game meant for a portable device, it doesn't cut corners on the core gameplay that made this series famous. You'll still get the third-person shooting levels, climbing sections, platforming challenges and puzzles to solve. It did have to be translated to the PlayStation Vita's controls, so aiming for example feels a tad bit less intuitive in comparison to the DualShock 3 controller, but at the same time it also makes the game unique, because it utilizes all the innovative features the PlayStation Vita offers. The touchscreen is utilized for different elements. You solve puzzles by rotating the rings, you save yourself from falling, you fight enemies, and some more. The rear touchpad is also used for some puzzles, but in addition to paddle a boat. The gyroscopic sensor, also known as 6-axis, is implemented for using the sniper scope and swinging on ropes. While all these features might sound impressive, they feel more like a gimmick than helpful additions to me. Besides, the studio also realized that a handheld game called for a slightly different approach regarding the game's flow. Golden Abyss places a greater emphasis on exploration and puzzles than its console counterparts, and the levels are suited for shorter bursts of playtime. No trophy hunter can resist a good old treasure hunt, and Uncharted is no stranger to hidden collectibles and secrets. Golden Abyss keeps the tradition alive, but also implements some features for the PlayStation Vita in interesting ways. You will not only collect normal treasures like glyphs and figurines, but you also have to recreate photos with the motion controls and drop pieces of paper with the touch controls. These features do add a layer of interactivity to the treasure hunt, making it a little more engaging than just collecting stuff. The game of course features a platinum trophy for the completionists out there. Fun fact, the game doesn't include any form of multiplayer functionality on the retail cartridge itself. However, a developer reportedly told at the Sony event that an announcement regarding multiplayer will be made soon for the title. No further details were spared, only that it will be something different, presumably to complement the portable format. Nothing has been released as of today though. The handheld Uncharted experience promised by Golden Abyss was exciting, but how does it compare against its bigger brother Uncharted 3, which was released on the PlayStation 3 around the same time? Let's face it, the Vita wasn't a powerhouse compared to the PlayStation 3. Golden Abyss is a handheld title, built for shorter bursts of gameplay on a smaller screen, while Drake's Deception is meant for large TVs, with cinematic visuals and wide open levels. It's not quite as simple as saying one is better. Let's talk graphics first. Uncharted 3 is one of the best looking games on the PlayStation 3, pushing the limits of the console with detailed environments, realistic character models and impressive lighting effects. Golden Abyss on the PlayStation Vita just can't compete on that level. Environments are more scaled down, textures aren't quite as sharp, they're pretty blurry actually if you compare them, and character models lack some of the finer details. But that doesn't mean Golden Abyss looks bad. The art style is vibrant, the environments are lush and varied, and the game utilizes the Vita screen effectively. Level design is another area where the two games differ. Drake's Deception features vast, epic set pieces, which could have come straight out of a movie.
This is the big one, kid.
Think scaling a crumbling chateau in the French countryside, or navigating the bustling marketplace in Yemen. Golden Abyss, by its nature, has more condensed levels that are perfect for shorter bursts of gameplay. This doesn't mean they're less interesting, however. The focus here is on tight corridors, intricate puzzles utilizing the Vita's features, and a sense of constant discovery. Think of it as a more focused, puzzle-heavy experience compared to the grand adventures of Drake's Deception. So, Golden Abyss isn't a lesser Uncharted. The core gameplay loop of shooting, climbing and platforming remains intact. The true question is whether you prefer your Uncharted on the go in bite-sized chunks, or on the big screen in all its cinematic glory. It just feels like a side story. But what did the fans and critics thought about it? Well, critics were generally impressed with what Bend Studio had achieved. They praised the game's tight controls, engaging story and the innovative use of the PlayStation Vita's features. While some reviewers acknowledged the graphical limitations compared to the previous Uncharted games, they felt that the core gameplay loop translated surprisingly well to the handheld format. The puzzles that utilized the touchscreen and rear touchpad were a particular highlight, adding a layer of interactivity that was new and engaging. However, there were also some criticisms. A few reviewers found the level design to be a bit more linear and less expansive. The story, while enjoyable, wasn't quite as epic or character driven as what Naughty Dog earlier had delivered. Golden Abyss wasn't a revolutionary masterpiece, but it was a solid, well-crafted Uncharted experience. If it lived up to the Uncharted name, depends on your expectations. Fans for the most part also appreciated it, and nowadays it earned a dedicated fanbase. The golden age of the PlayStation Vita might be over, but that doesn't mean this game has to be left behind. While the prices of used devices keeps rising, emulation is here to save the day. And with that arrives the question, how does Golden Abyss hold up on modern devices? And is it worth revisiting for a new generation? Here's the good news. Emulation offers a smoother overall experience. Frame rates can be tweaked to 60 FPS, potentially offering a more consistent performance than the original release. Plus, you can play on a larger screen with a higher resolution, which gives the game a whole new feeling. In addition, you can now play with any controller you like, which is a positive and negative thing at once. I personally prefer a regular controller, but the disadvantage of that is that you have to emulate the features of the PlayStation Vita, which is not always ideal. So, is Golden Abyss a good entry point for Uncharted newcomers? You could say that it's the only main Uncharted game for a handheld device, and therefore provides a unique experience. I can partially contradict the statements, since nowadays you can also play the Uncharted collection on the PlayStation Portal. And I'm not even mentioning emulating all the other games on the Steam Deck, for example. Besides, the story assumes some familiarity with the Uncharted series, and the gameplay mechanics might feel a bit dated compared to the other entries. So in short, I don't think this is a good entry point. I recommend first playing at least one other game in the franchise, preferably the first one. Golden Abyss is a semi-hidden gem worth revisiting for anyone, but especially for dedicated Uncharted fans.